stage and theater. So stage and theater, stage I mean concert halls, like if you go to like the Kodak Center, the Kodak Theater in Los Angeles, or the or in New York, what's the one big one in New York? Madison Square Garden, that's in New York, okay? Those are arena stages, right? Okay, so they're not technically like a theater, it's not Broadway, but they're, a lot of times they're union houses, and concerts happen there, and musicians happen there, and guess what they need? They need makeup artists that happen there as well. So sometimes they're union houses, and sometimes they're not. What a union house means is that there has to have a union artist that works on there. If it's a non-union house, then it doesn't matter if you're union or you're not union, you can still work in that particular building, all right? So you want to know that if it's a union house, so it's a non-union house, because if you're a non-union makeup artist and somebody asks you to go and work in that particular arena, so let's say that you're asked to go to the Kodak Theater and it's a union house and they didn't let the person know that, you may be asked to leave, okay, and you may not be allowed to work. But if they know that, then they'll work out other stuff so that you can work, but you can't not tell them that. Some unions, some people are really sticklers about the rules of those things, and I don't want you to get sent home when you got called to come in and do work and you packed your gear, you got it in your car, and you're excited to do it. So those are under stages. Theaters are like Broadway theaters, or if you go to, you know, if you're in Philadelphia, you're at the Academy of Music type of thing, or the Kimmel Center, or those things are real. They're theaters that have a traditional theater audience and has a traditional theater stage as well. Some theaters are union houses and some theaters are non-union houses. Majority of the time, most theaters are union houses as well. So they have their own rules and regulations that are behind it. So the way that theater and stage works, you don't have a 12-hour day, okay? You normally have, depending on the event, okay? Normally concerts are 2 hours, maybe 3 hours long, right? So if you're the makeup artist, you're sometimes there, maybe if the concert's at 8 o'clock, maybe your call time is like 6 o'clock p.m., all right? So you're there about 2 hours beforehand, and you do the makeup. It takes you 45 minutes to do makeup, let's just say 45 minutes to do makeup. You're there in plenty of time to set up. The artist comes to you, you do your makeup in 45 minutes. When they hit that stage, you're done. You don't go and touch up. You're not doing any of that kind of other stuff. Sometimes you can stay and watch the show, or sometimes you can go home. You get paid the same amount of money. You get paid the day rate for that you're going to do for it, but you don't work the entire time. You don't work a 12-hour day. And you also don't work the entire time unless they tell you that. So they'll say, okay, yeah, when, you know, this particular person comes off stage, they like to be touched up in between shows, or they sweat a lot, so they like to be pat down. So they'll let you know that, and that's true, that you'll be there to be able to make sure that you do the touch-ups, or you change the makeup applications, or you wipe sweat off people's faces, because your job is so glamorous. In theater, sometimes you have 2 shows a day. So if you ever, you know, went to see, let's say, you know, Hamlet, that's big right now, okay? All right? Well, they have a matinee, so they may have a 2 o'clock show, so that show is from 2 o'clock, they're off stage at 4 o'clock, and they have an 8 o'clock p.m. show, all right? So that means you have a break in the middle of your day to go and eat, rest, do whatever you want to do. You come back at 7 o'clock to get ready for that 8 o'clock show, because you're normally called an hour before an hour before the show. And then they go on stage. And for stage shows or theater shows, when the show is on, that doesn't necessarily mean you go home. You have to work the show. So how do you get theater jobs? Theater jobs, normally majority of the time, is the relationships that you have as well, or you worked a freelance job for somebody else and you got a random phone call and they asked if you're available to do those things as well. So again, there are a lot of ways that you can go behind it. If you're in the union already, then you normally work in theater as well. So they'll call you. If it's a union house, then they're going to call you because they know you're a union artist. They have a union job that's coming up. They have to have a union artist come in and do it, and they'll help you do it that way. Some cities, if it's a union house, then they have to match it. So let's say that the artist brought in their own people with them. So if the artist brought in their own people and it's a union house, the union house has to match the people that they brought in. So let's say that the artist brought in their own hair person, their own makeup person, so that's 2 people. Now the union house has to also hire a local, meaning somebody that's in their city, a hair person and makeup person to match them. And those local people don't just sit there and not do anything. There's work for them to do. So don't be like, well, I'm just sitting here to get a check because it has to match, because this other girl's going to do all this work, or this other guy's going to do all the work. That's not how it works. Every city is different. So sometimes you get a phone call from your union. Sometimes you get a phone call from the stage itself, from the theater itself. Sometimes you get a phone call or you get an email from the person that's on that show. So you get a phone call from a lot of different places. They tell you what the rate is. Or if it's a union house, you know what the rate is, because each house has a particular rate. So for example, if you worked at, you know, a theater, certain theaters have the same rate all the time, and you get a different rate. So you get a rate for your pre-call. Remember how I said you had to be there an hour before the show? So that's a particular rate. You get a different rate, different money during the show, and you get a different money after the show. So let's say that the show is over and you have to take all of the actors out of the makeup because they have beards and they have all this facial hair, or they have extensive makeup on, and it's going to take you an extra 20 minutes to do that makeup. Anything after 15 minutes you get paid an hour for in theater. So if it takes you 20 minutes, they're still going to pay you for an hour, and you get a different rate afterwards. So just to make math even more complicated, let's say you got $20 before the show, right? The show is 2 hours long. So it's $20 an hour before the show, is $40 during the show. So now you're at what, $100, right? Because $40 and $40, and then it's $15 at the end of the show. Now you're at $115 per day. It's a lot more money than that majority of the time, but I'm just trying to make it as simple. So it's one rate before, one rate during, and a different rate afterwards. If you work on a Sunday, then you get paid time and a half, because they count that as like a special day as well. So your check will look a little bit different for it. And it's every time. So remember when I said if you do those matinee shows, so if you do 2 shows during the day, every time that you're doing a show, you get that rate. Every time you're prepping for the show, you get a rate. If it takes you 20 minutes at the end of it, so you get it throughout it every time that you do that particular job. And that's what's in theater. I like theater. It's not the love of my life. But if you're a night person, okay, it's a great gig, because you have your days to do whatever it is you want to do. A lot of people like television and film because you have off on the weekends. So yeah, you work 12 or 14-hour days Monday through Friday, but your majority of the time you have off on the weekends, just depending on the film and the TV show, because sometimes we have something called Fraturdays, which means you start it in the middle of the day on a Friday, so you go to the early morning of a Saturday, so you don't really have a Friday, you don't really have a Saturday. So that happens from time to time as well. But majority of the time you work Monday through Friday. You kind of have a bit of a set schedule. For theater, you don't work during the day unless you have a matinee, okay? And even if you have a matinee, you still normally have the morning to yourself, all right? But if you're like, I love to go out on the weekends, or my girlfriend's, you know, getting married, or my family's having Thanksgiving, or they're having a Christmas thing, and it happens to be on a weekday and that kind of stuff, well, you're at work. Because here's the thing, if you watch the Macy's Day Parade on TV, you're like, oh my God, I want to see so-and-so. If you're the makeup artist, guess where you're at on Thanksgiving at the Macy's Day Parade? You're at work, because somebody has to go there and do the makeup. Oh, I love how it's on TV. That cameraman's at work. That's how you were able to see it on TV. So they're not at their family on Thanksgiving, and they're not at their family on Christmas. They're freezing their butt off, or in the beautiful sun, depending on where they're at. So just keep that in mind, that this is an industry that just because it's a holiday for everybody else, and just because it's somebody else's special day, you're freelancing, so you're at work, all right? So maybe your Thanksgiving is the day before Thanksgiving, or your Thanksgiving is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. It's still the same food, your family's still together. You know, I don't watch football, so therefore I'm not missing the game. That's how theater works. Is normally in the evening. The rate is a little bit lower than it is going to be for television and film, but it's not disrespectful, all right? And you can also tour when you work in theater as well, okay? So if you tour, so you can either do a touring show like an artist, right? So if so-and-so is a concert and they're going on a world tour, you can tour with them, and you're still going to work at night, or you'll work whenever the show is, and majority of the time the shows are at night, and you go from one city to another city to another city. You'll negotiate what your rate is throughout the entire tour. You can be union or non-union and tour with an artist as well, or tour with the show as well. So it's a little bit of more wiggle room and negotiation from it. And the tour may be in one particular region, so you might go to like Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Washington, D.C., or you may go all around the United States, or you may go all around the world. They let you know that in advance. Or you can tour with a theater show. So let's say that you're doing, you know, Lion King. That show has been out for a very long time, and it's a show that's on tour. So you can be on the Broadway version of Lion King, meaning that you go to the same theater every single night, or you go to that theater whenever they need extra help, or you can be on a touring show. So you're in Philadelphia for 3 months, and then you're in Los Angeles for 3 months, and you're in Washington, D.C. for 3 months. Or you can be on a tour and you do day to day, meaning you're in Philadelphia on Monday, you're in New York on Tuesday, you're in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday, you're in California next Monday. And so you live on a tour bus. And again, they'll let you know that. Or you can be on a tour for a week at a time. So they let you know how long you're going to be on it and where you're going to go as well. And your money is different that way. You learn how to live out a suitcase, and you learn how to budget your money, and you learn how to not shop and keep it with you. because if you buy all this stuff, you have no other place to put it. Tour life people send things back home a whole lot, or they get rid of their houses because you kind of don't really have a place to live, or don't need a place to live when you're doing the time. But keep in mind, when that tour is over, you're unemployed. So if you get rid of the place that you live and you've been on tour for 5 years, which happens, people do tours for 5 years. Now when that tour is over, or if you choose to leave the tour, not only are you leaving the tour, you got to find a place to live at the same time. So be smart to find a place to live before you leave the tour, if you decide to do that. Everybody is different.